Hello, hello, I'm Tracy Pierce. Thanks for joining me for this Live with the Animals video series. So this video series started back in March of 2020 when the coronavirus started making itself really well known here in the United States. Different shelter-in-place orders, quarantine measures were starting to go into place, and the whole world just looked so different. And I became really curious what the animals thought about this whole situation. So they really encouraged me to do this live streaming video series where I bring you the wisdom of the animals. They share what they want to share with the world, and it's been pretty cool. And so here we are now in November of 2020, and there's still a lot of animals coming forward who would like to share their wisdom with us. So I'm honoring them, and as long as the animals keep showing up, I will keep bringing their wisdom to you. All right, so our guest today is a little goldfinch. Let me pull its picture up here. So this was at a friend's house. It's one of those little bird feeders that's has the gate thing around it so the squirrels can't get into it. So this little goldfinch was having a little meal at a friend's house and seemed like it wanted to connect with us. So if you're joining me live and you have questions for this goldfinch, you can either type them into the chat on Zoom or just type them into the comments on Facebook. So I'm going to go ahead and get quiet and start tuning into this goldfinch and see what it would like to tell us today. So the first thing it brings my awareness to is its color, that bright yellow gold color. It doesn't show up quite so prominently in this picture, but if you've seen a goldfinch, particularly the males, they can be very bright yellow. Is there something particular about that color yellow? So it's showing me it's like this zooming motion, like zoom, zoom, and also the bright color that comes along with that. We're quite striking, is what the goldfinch says. There aren't a lot of birds that have our color. Like, there's something very special about us and our color. It's reminding me how I believe the goldfinch is actually the state bird of Iowa. I used to live in Iowa. It's reminding me of that. I wonder, is there anything else? What else you might like to share with us about you or your species or birds? What kind of bird wisdom might you like to share with us today? So it's showing me its sound, its bird sound. And I don't think I can copy it. It's not something I'm really good at, copying bird sounds, but is there something specific about that? It feels like maybe. It's showing how the sounds of the birds can be like what's the right word? I keep hearing the word invitation. That's not quite right. It's like the bird sounds have this invitation to go into, it's like a different realm or something. Can you show that to me again, or maybe a different way? Yeah, if you want to connect with the birds, it's saying to listen to the sounds. Like, we can be very impressive with our flying and our colors, But there's a way that the sounds that the birds make, it's almost like it can, if you tune in a certain way, it transports you into, it really kind of feels like another realm. It's almost the way the bird is showing it to me. It's like, okay, so our consciousness is at this level, and then starting to tune into the sounds of the birds. It's like it plugs us in to something else that's a little bit higher or something. Huh, it's funny, just as I don't know if you can hear this on the video, but just as I started to describe it, there's a whole bunch of birds outside that started to really go crazy and make a whole bunch of sounds. Yeah, and the goldfinch is saying, yes, any time that you hear birds, no matter what kind of birds they are, there's something about their voice and the sounds that they make that can bring you more into the realm of that bird. It almost feels like to be able to be plugged into that level of consciousness is what it almost feels like. Huh, that's interesting. Is there more that you want to say about that, about the sounds or the songs of the birds, or plugging into your consciousness, or anything else around that? So this bird is saying, well, in the grand scheme of things like ecology, biology, that birds obviously play a very important role overall, but there is something about birds bringing a level of beauty to the world, to life. Yeah, it's almost like viewing birds as, okay, yeah, they're functional, they do these things, they contribute to ecology, to the biology, ecosystem stuff. But what this bird, at least this bird, would like us to kind of watch birds with a keen eye for beauty. Okay, is it about the colors, or like I keep seeing all these flashes of colors that you're showing me? Is there something more about the kind of beauty, or how we could be in touch with that, or why it's important? So this little bird says birds make everything more beautiful. There's this like showing a tree, and it's like, okay, the tree's just plain by itself, but then you get a very colorful, beautiful bird sitting there, and it really brings something, is what this little bird says. Bird is saying, like, it's almost like each one of them are little artists of their own right. Even the birds that maybe aren't so brightly colored or as beautiful as I am, is what this little bird is saying. They do bring a level of beauty if we can tune in and appreciate that. So it's pointing to like the delicateness of its body, and then the feathers. Saying if you would find a feather from a goldfinch, you would be really impressed. It's showing like the very fine, refined qualities, and how um, it's just so minuscule and kind of detailed. Like there's a sacredness, there's almost, it's showing like a geometry kind of thing to its feathers, to its design. It might not be the geometry that your high school teacher, Tracy, would have taught you, but it's kind of showing, and I'm not an artist. I don't consider myself an artist, but it's showing like some of the drawing, I don't know if the right word is models, but so let's see if I can describe this accurately. in some drawing classes, like if you're drawing a human form, they might have you draw like circles and shapes to connect the whole form. And it's showing kind of a similar thing with birds, like, oh, you might draw the head kind of in this circular fashion and then oval for the body. And there's this very delicate yet precise and refined way that all these beautiful elements come together. And so it feels like this bird is saying, particularly for people who are artists, to study birds and their beauty. And there's like something particular about the way the form of the bird is put together. Yeah, and like I said, I'm not really an artist, so I hope that's clear for my artist friends, if that makes sense. Okay, check for questions for our little goldfinch friend here. Not seeing any at the moment. So, oh wait, we've got one here, comes up. Okay, so got a question here. It says, I have a friend who says she hates birds because it sounds like she had an experience where a bird flew into her hair, which is just the strangest thing. Can you say anything about why someone might feel this way and miss all the beauty of birds? So this bird is saying it's not necessarily particular to birds, but anybody could have some sort of reaction or trauma or incident, like the bird flying into her hair, where there becomes some kind of imprint where they don't like that animal. Um, the bird saying it's just a samskaric thing. It can happen to anybody, and yeah, it's not a personal thing. He's like, I don't feel like this is a personal thing with your friend. Like if I saw your friend, I don't know if I would go up and see her or say hi to her or anything. But um, is there something you want to say about people who don't like birds or who maybe have had this bad experience with birds? Huh. So it's almost like this bird is showing me like old karmic stuff that we attract to ourselves. Because what he's showing me, it feels like it's showing me this friend who had the bird fly into her, showing her as like a cat in a previous life and really swatting at these birds. And so it's almost like a karmic thing that's come back around with a bird like coming in and attacking her a bit or like getting in her hair and stuff. Um, this little goldfinch is saying it's almost like a bit of a cosmic joke in a way. And that many of us have these kind of things, and the bird is reminding me how, I've had sort of um, a thing with horses. Like I got bit by a horse when I was young, and so um, had a bit of a samskaric push away thing with horses. And so this bird is saying we all have these karmic things in our past, and some might be with animals. Maybe some of us have had past lives as animals, and so there are things we're working out. And so, yeah, it's almost like this bird is saying it's not that this friend is quote unquote missing out on the beauty of birds. But it's almost like she has to relearn it. Um, if she wants to, like she doesn't have to, is what the bird is saying. Like if she wants to have a push away from the beauty of the birds, that's okay. Or maybe she just observes it from a greater distance. Um, yeah, but it's not uncommon to have these kind of samskaric, it's almost like blips that we have with different kinds of animals. Yeah, so again, it's reminding me also of my own Like I've seen my past life right before this one, I was killed by a bear, and showing how like how that has bled over into this life. Like I feel scared of bears. um, to see one in person might be very scary to me. Yeah, so it's saying we all have a choice about whether we decide to it's like untangle or unravel those kind of incidents that we may have had with. And you say this goes beyond animals. This, you know, this could just apply to all your human lives too. Like maybe you had a really bad experience with a man in his 50s, you know, in some past life. And so there's something about when you see a man in his 50s and maybe his beard is a particular way that you feel triggered. And it's kind of a similar thing that happens with birds and or other animals. And he's saying we don't really take it personally necessarily. Like sometimes there is a bit of universal wisdom coming in. So the bird shows it's like plugged into this higher divine kind of thing. And so this bird is saying, I don't know if this is the situation with your friend, but if we, it's almost like an energetic imprint that other living beings can kind of see imprinted on um, in the energy of that person, and it may attract certain things to try to work that out or unravel it. But it's up to the individual person whether they want to or whether they do. Yeah, that makes sense. And Kim says, thanks, that's interesting. All right, my little goldfinch friend, is there anything else that you want to share with us today? Be sure we know about you or birds or. So it's showing me, you know, humans tend to think that life in the wild is so terrible and so difficult. It's kind of running through all these various kind of TV shows about animals, you know, where they kind of like make everything into a drama kind of thing and kind of personify animals, even though animals don't really think about things in the same way that humans do. Um, yeah, it's just showing how life is so like animal life is different than how we as humans perceive it. Like, oh, you're safe in your homes and your cities and stuff, but to us it feels much safer to be in nature, to be held by Mother Nature and to depend on that force rather to depend on a human force. It says I have no fear of death. And that's one thing that um, it keeps showing like this imprint going into a like a movie reel about how humans believe these things, you know, that animals view things in a similar kind of way that as humans do, but that's just not true. Um, is saying like the human perception of the animal kingdom can be really inaccurate. And this bird feels like the personification kind of things that happen in movies and Hollywood. Um, in some ways, it's 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 inaccurate, is what he's saying. He's like, I don't know that it's bad necessarily, other than spreading misinformation. Um, Yeah, but there's a certain sense of like we just don't think about things in the same way as humans, and that's because we don't think about things in the same way as humans, it's hard for humans to understand that. Okay, is there something specific you more you want to say about that, or is that pretty full? just remember when you're watching TV about animals, you're getting the human perspective on animals. You're not actually getting the animal's perspective. Okay. And I would suppose that may even be true, in these animal communications, like that I'm only able to receive certain bits of information at this moment. Saying, well, animal communicators, it's saying like it's a similar kind of thing where the beliefs of the person doing the communication or making the movie can become imprinted on the communication or on the movie. So it's very important for the communicator to be aware of that, but also, yeah, nothing's perfect. Nothing's like a direct kind of channeling necessarily from the divine. It's always going to have some kind of like impression on it, of somebody else or some other human that's bringing it forward, and it's good to remember that. It's almost like there's nothing that is neutral. there's nothing that doesn't have some kind of opinion or something kind of impressed upon it, however the information comes forward. Yeah, I can feel that probably very much being true in, media and everything too. So much in our life, in the United States these days, fake news and all that kind of stuff. So, all right, my little goldfinch friend, is there anything else you would like to share with us today before we close our session? I would really like for people to listen to the songs of the birds more. The bird is showing how humans kind of march around with this determined energy, and they're very focused, like, I'm going to work, I'm doing this thing. And it's almost like people become so focused that they're not aware of the other things that are going on around them. And the bird song is something that can really transport you or even move you to a different state of consciousness that could really help you during your workday. Um, so it shows me that I think it's Cinderella, the fairy tale Cinderella, where all the like birds and stuff in the cartoon come and help her get dressed to go to the ball and all that. So it's showing how the songs of the birds can come in and help you and uplift your day in that similar kind of way of Cinderella being helped by all the animals and the birds. The bird says, no, don't get me wrong, we're not going to come in and actually do that like Cinderella, but there is this sense of like energetic help, like being available and coming in. Yeah, that's cool. Thank you, my little goldfinch friend. So thanks so much for joining me here today. I hope you join us another time. There's tons of videos on my YouTube channel talking to other animals. And like I said, as long as the animals keep showing up, I'll keep doing these sessions. So I hope you'll join us again sometime. And until next time, take care and be well.